What's up, y'all? It's your girl, Diana Garcia, and we are back with Shaking the Culture podcast, aka also festival, if you guys didn't know. But I'm excited because we've been talking about doing an interview for so long. It's been like, I want to say 2 years now, almost about to be 3.
Probably.
And I feel like right now is like literally the perfect time for it. So go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Well, first off, thank y'all for having me. My name is Derek Jackson. Everybody calls me Prez, so I go by Prez. Yeah, I am really just a media and entertainment entrepreneur is what I like to say. A consultant specializing in business, establishment, marketing, operations, those types of things. My primary thing is that I am the founder of the nonprofit organization called the National Collegiate Entertainers Group, or NCEG. And really that side of what it is that I do, it's a passion project. It's a nonprofit really dedicated to creating a new future for the music industry that enables us to really like support the next generation of, aspiring artists and executives in the space.
That is so cool. So like we were talking about off camera, so you, besides, I feel like when I met you or when I saw you and been seeing everything you do, I was like, okay, dang, he's dedicated and logged into this. But off the camera, you told me that you have other businesses.
Yeah.
So how do you make that happen? How is it possible for you to balance life, you have a family, business, and this organization? How does that all come about?
Well, I mean, it's certainly not easy. The what I'll say is that it took many years. Like for me, I'm fortunate because I was able to start my company when I was young. When I was 15. I was literally in high school. It was my sophomore year of high school. And because that was when I started my first company, I was able to kind of create it, form it, and have the operations of that running. So then it's just about maintaining, right? Before you kind of go on into the next one and before you add on another project. So I think a lot of times with regards to speaking to any aspiring entrepreneur or business person, or especially you're even artist, don't try to do too much too fast. Taking on doing a whole lot all at the same time is what leads to headaches. Yeah, you see people do it, and yeah, I am capable of doing it, but only because every single piece of what I do has a team established, and every single one of those teams had to be built before I could even think about turning my attention away from it for any amount of time. And even on most days, that's still not really a thing. But yeah.
So you're at 15. Did you ever have a mentor in any?
Yeah, I mean, I had multiple mentors. I am fortunate in some cases that just the spirit of entrepreneurship is kind of like a part of my family. Technically, I would be a second generation entrepreneur, with my mother really being the first.
Okay.
And it was her support that was really like, okay, building your own business is something that's viable, whereas a lot of my friends just never had that. But it was literally like my dad, on the other hand, I mean, even to this day, I want to say it's like 40 years in at the exact same job he first had, you know what I mean? Like, so he was always working full time, that traditional career, whereas my mother started in her career and then started her business, and then that was it. So for me, I was able to see both sides, and she, was open to the ideas of entrepreneurship. My dad was just like, hey, yo, work hard. But then in school, I came across mentors who were supportive of what it was that I was interested in, both on the business and executive side and on like the music and art side too. But yeah, no, I was pretty fortunate to have two black male mentors at my high school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That were supportive in that way and didn't, really want anything except for just to see me and all of my friends like do something constructive with our time.
Okay. So what do you feel like you learned from your mentors that you feel like your other mentors, aka your parents, didn't teach you, or you're like, okay, I took this as a lesson?
A lot of it, I would say, well, one of them is organization. One mentor, shout out to Solomon Stretch. It was one of our teachers back at Druid Hills High School in Atlanta. But he was really about structure. It's about being able to, if I'm just, being honest about it, being able to play the politics of it, right? Understanding that oftentimes having good ideas is cool, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have the trust of the people who can put you in the position to execute on those ideas. So, knowing that you have to build that trust, you have to do something that's outside of always being self-serving, right? Like to serve your community first.
Yeah.
And honestly foremost, right? Like to always make what you're doing something that's designed to serve a population other than just yourself. And he was really somebody who kind of like instilled that in myself and again my group of friends that we were around. And it essentially allowed us to navigate the politics of being in school, but also like building something that was bigger than what we were just doing in school, which means that if I'm just being honest, once you can do stuff like that, then you're able to bend rules.
Yeah.
Bend rules, because some rules are explicit and some rules are flexible. Some rules are just things that we think is stuff that you're not supposed to be able to do. Mm-hmm. So most people just don't try. Those are those self-imposed rules. It's like, oh, I didn't know you could. Was like, well, you didn't ask.
Yeah.
You didn't, you know what I'm saying? You didn't think to even imagine yourself in that position. And that's what most people do. I want to say Stretch is really somebody who showed us that it was like, I mean, these are the rules. And everything else in between those is flexible. You know what I'm saying? As long as your intentions and your impact is positive. And then my other mentor, pastor now, Trey Harvey.
Nice.
He was, again, just another teacher at the school. But he actually taught me more about music. So he taught me how to play bass, guitar, and just like the whole concept about being able to put together groups of musicians and artists and kind of exposing me to the network of that side of it, of really working with creatives in that way. But outside of that, like everything else was really just go out there and get it and experience. It's always been the best teacher for me.
Yeah.
And and just knowing that doing it was going kick my ass enough to teach me lessons in and of itself.
Yeah. I agree. Do you remember the first event where you actually were flexible, or were like, okay, these are the rules, but you were actually bent those rules? You're like, oh wow, what I learned with this mentor, I actually like, now I got a whole different outcome.
I want to say, without going too far, I mean, I think that that's kind of like where, honestly, it's where some of the early inspiration for NCEG actually came from, because really, because I talk to a lot of kids now. Mm-hmm. And I think this is going to be a little bit of a tangent, but one of the challenges I think our current youth face is feeling like everything that they do is kind of like on rails, right? Like they're pulling inspiration from things that they're seeing other people do on the internet, you know what I mean? And they're oftentimes act as bystanders. It's like they learn to challenge what's possible a lot, but that's not really a real connection there. So for me, one of the early things was about understanding that even though I was young, it doesn't mean that I couldn't address my teachers like they were my peers if there was information and knowledge that I had that they didn't. Right? So, so a primary example is that is that I was actually able to literally be a part of the production and like entertainment and booking the entertainment for my own senior prom.
Oh, nice.
Like literally a lot of that was facilitated through my own company, that I was able to like pull that off, like, you know, but it was because of, again, that the trust, the relationship, but like literally like it was my company. We booked the venue, we, you know what I'm saying, I DJ'd my own,
Okay.
like, you know what I'm saying, those are things that a traditional student just kind of like doesn't think about and doesn't really think is possible. And I'm not, you know, gonna say that it was easy to do, but could you even imagine doing it? And most of them just
do not, that they don't even think that's an option,
right,
you know, at all.
To get paid to go to prom, right?
Exactly. They're like, dang, you have to put all this on your tux and everything else you got going on.
Yeah, I got that money right back.
Yeah, that's, and see, that's a plus, like you said, but because nobody were to think, they're like, oh, we want to do these you know, festivals. They always think like the bigger, which I'm not saying it's bad to think big and dream big, but sometimes goes back to, you have to network side to side, just because eventually those people will be the people that everybody wants to get in contact with, wants to do, like, oh my god. But now you're like, okay, you're what, 18 at prom? How old were you? Do you remember?
Yeah, I got a late
17?
birthday, so yeah, I was 18.
Okay, so it's just like, okay, but now you have that as your resume. A lot of these music execs and anybody in the industry is like, oh shit, you did this at 18?
Right.
That's impressive. It's like now you have more of a chance to do something with them than you not trying to DJ your prom, you know?
Exactly. And that's kind of, and so that's where, that's like the entire inspiration for like, I guess the formation of like a lot of my beliefs. Like, yeah, it's based off of my own experiences and a lot of the privileges that I had in that particular right. But in that same vein, I'm not the only person who's done it. The irony is I didn't just do my prom that year. I also did, you know what I'm saying? It was my co-founder and best friend, Xavier Hubris Jones. We did his school too. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so literally while we were doing this at my school, we did the same thing at his. It was a completely different group of people, completely different group of like administrators and staff and everything.
Yeah.
But like, you do something multiple times and then you know it works. And then we get to college and in many of the same circumstances able to do the exact same thing over and over and over again. And that's essentially what birthed NCEG, because in doing it, we started to have, obviously, you know, our peers around us starting to ask questions like, you know, how are we pulling this off? How are we doing this? How can they be a part of stuff? And it's like, all right, well, we're going to share all of this knowledge with you. But then it becomes a situation where it's like, yo, like, people at this school are asking, people at that school are asking. So it's like, all right, let's just create this entire platform and share all of the information and knowledge that we've accumulated over the years of operating in this space of young adults who move, if we're being honest, like we own the future.
Yeah. That's what I feel like more people need to do, but a lot of people are scared of what might happen or it not succeeding right away.
Because there's 1.5 million things that could go wrong.
Definitely. But then there's that one yes or that one time where it's like, oh shit, now we're viral.
Yes.
Now everybody knows about us.
But now I'm paid.
Exactly. Kind of backtracking, what school did you graduate from?
So high school?
College.
So that's
I was about to say, because I was like, we always talk about all these other colleges, but we never talk about what college.
I went to Georgia State University. I mean, ironically, I still haven't graduated from Georgia State University.
Okay.
So I graduated Druid Hills High School. That's 2011. I did a year at West Georgia before coming back into the city at Georgia State. So I want to say I started Georgia State. That would have been the 2013-2014 year.
And that's when NCEG started, right?
Correct. But at that point, it was called Panther Entertainment Group, or PEG.
Okay.
In 2016, we incorporated the nonprofit NCEG. And in 2017, I was accepted as an affiliate member of the Creative Media Industries Institute at Georgia State University. I maybe did another semester of classes, and then from there, I'm basically running this program.
Yeah. Okay.
So I wasn't really taking, so I haven't really taken classes since. Like I've been an instructor, program director,
Yeah.
teaching things that I know, but not a professor.
Okay.
Since 2017.
See, I was wondering, okay, oh my god, so did he go to college to be a professor, or like how that all looped in?
Nope.
But you literally just
I was a student.
And technically, that's...
Yes. I was a student in between junior and senior year. Yes.
Oh, wow. So are you going to go back to school and actually graduate?
That is a very good question.
Like, like, what's the plan with that? You have so much success now, and what would you go back to school for?
So, okay. So here's the full reality of the situation, right? Like, so again, so I'm an entrepreneur already. Mm-hmm. I've been an entrepreneur already even before going to school. Maybe it was just my own lack of knowledge about what college was really, and what the colleges that I were looking at really had to offer. But I was under the impression, first off, I always only had the intention to go to school for the sake of learning how to do business better.
Yeah.
That's first and foremost. But at the end of the day, I'm an entrepreneur. I didn't realize the difference between being an entrepreneur and being, like, let's just say a business manager. Right. Okay. Like, so going to the school of business for management, or going to the school of, business for like marketing and things of that nature. So, those were the majors that I chose. Entrepreneurship was not a major. Facts. Right. And I mean, entrepreneurship is really just becoming a major at a lot of these schools in literally in the last few years, since 2017, 2018. So I went to college literally too early for what it was that I really wanted to study.
Okay.
So what I had to learn is that the difference between entrepreneurship and traditional business management is that entrepreneurs are people who look for opportunities and create business structures in order to take advantage of those opportunities, in order to generate value and revenue in serving a need, right? That's what an entrepreneur does. And so they'll set it all up, you know what I'm saying? Figure out all of the pieces that go together in order to make this thing function. Most business management majors and the idea and concepts around management, even, CEOs, those people are employed by those owners in order to maintain and execute on what's already existing, right? They're there in order to keep the wheels turning, not to invent new ones. That was a very important distinction that I learned technically late.
Yeah. You
know what I mean? So I was studying mechanisms for maintaining other people's businesses, and even many of the classes and assignments that I was given were about either going to go do an internship with somebody or working on somebody else's company and doing all this other stuff.
Yeah.
I was already a father with at least 2 companies by the time I went to college.
That's insane.
So you understand? Yeah. So it was a very different type of scenario for me. So with that being said, like, it was once I realized that, all right, entrepreneurship is really what I study and what it is that I do. That's why the creation of the Creative Media Industries Institute and media entrepreneurship as a major, it was literally coming up. It was literally being formed 3 to 4 years into me already doing this program of NCEG, and essentially sharing everything that I knew about being a media entrepreneur with my peers who were also enrolled at Georgia State University. So yeah, it was just understanding what those differences were between the two.
Yeah.
And so for me, like, if I go back now, I was studying management.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
for 3-4 years. Am I changing my major?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so those are just some questions to get answered. And again, I say that. I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
That was my pick up my daughter from school alarm.
Oh.
It's summertime. But anyway, but if I were to go back, it's about realizing that I don't really know how those credits would transfer, right? So that's, so I say that to say, maybe that was just me. Mm-hmm. Not really doing all of the research and understanding the difference about what college could and could not do before I went.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, I do think I will likely finish eventually. But when you really look at it from a utilitarian standpoint, I don't have a need.
Yeah.
Except for to formalize what it is that I know and have experienced for the sake of my peers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really it. Dang, look, you really just answered the question of the day, because I was like, I wonder what college he graduated from and did all that. Yeah, that's what nailed it. That's literally what nailed it.
Yet to fully do that, but
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll finish at Georgia State.
Yeah. What's it called? Another question. So, did you want to do music before this? Like, were you trying to be an artist, producer? What was that?
Yeah, ironically, so I have done everything.
Okay.
I mean, again, like, you're talking all the way back to my personal history of going back to high school.
Yeah.
I've done a little bit about everything. I've done production, engineering. I've done some verses.
I was going to say, do you have like an artist name you had back then? Yes,
I'll never tell.
That's
but
funny.
I've done all. I mean, even before then, I actually started as a dancer.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I was, DJing. Like, I've done all of that. But the irony of it is that if I'm being honest, I never really saw myself as an artist.
Okay.
And I come to realize that I still don't really see myself as an artist. So for me, my motivations were actually different, because I've always been an entrepreneur. Like, I'm actually fascinated with the way artists make money, or more importantly, I guess is what I should say, how artists don't make money and why artists don't make money.
The facts.
I'm like, so for me, growing up in the east side of Atlanta, my whole life, there's a lot of creative people.
Yeah.
Girls and boys, men and women that I grew up with. And it's like, for me, I was like, yo, like, you talented. Like, why, you know what I'm saying? Boom, 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 boom. But it was like, there was no support for any of them. No. There was no way for them to try to, like, actually have access to the resources that they need in order to be successful artists. Like, nothing. So for me, like, every single thing that I had created as a business, again, was just about filling a need. So I actually got into music, not because of me, but because of literally supporting my friends. Okay. I had friends who were creatives who I thought was dope. But again, we talking about high school, like, parents weren't going for that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, right. It's not realistic. It'll take you down the wrong path, like all of this stuff, right? Like, we, you know what I'm saying, we were 90s kids. So, Pac and Biggie, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, all of that. It's not something that, despite the influence that hip hop and hip hop culture has on us, our lives, and especially our upbringing as kids, it was as if the adults that raised us were trying to create some sort of separation in our minds between the very real influence that we felt in that and the realities of what we were allowed to consider real life as adults. And for me, I always just saw it as untapped potential and opportunity, because regardless of whether or not you made it big as an artist, there was a lot to be gleaned from you expressing those thoughts, emotions, ideas in the here and now. Like for me, like I learned so much about business just from operating like a label in high school, right? From having to think about, all right, you know, how much is this going to cost? Well, how much can we make from it? How are we going to raise money for this? How are we going to flip that money in order to do this thing that we really want to do? Like, how are we going to do this campaign? How are we going to get that video shot, right? Like, when you have to think about everything that you do in terms of checks and balances and, you know, revenues and expenses on a balance sheet, you start to really understand life differently. And that has nothing to do with music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what it was for me. It's like the artistic side of it. Again, it was not then, nor is it now, really self-serving. Like, I don't really have any desire to be an artist. I don't consider myself an artist. If anything, my art is in the number of people that I'm able to help.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That patchwork of like future executives that are gonna see themselves as capable of doing something that they might not have otherwise seen themselves capable of doing because they did not have the resources or support to do it before. And there I'll be saying, yeah, no, you can pull that off. All you got to do is boom.
Yeah.
You know?
They do it.
Yeah.
And you guys have done it throughout the years. I remember I went to go judge two of your performances, so I kind of want to talk into that, because I feel like when we bring up NCEG, for people from like the outsides, we see you guys as or well, my friend was like, oh, they do events at every college. So are you guys still doing that, and what has changed? Because I remember we spoke about, like, you know, now you're a little bit focused on the executives and doing more panels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So where is NCEG at right now?
So NCEG has been in existence, I mean, if you consider like 2013, 2014, right? At this point, we're 10 years in. The way I always like to put it is that, you know, everyone who has seen NCEG now has not seen the full NCEG. I was explaining it to a colleague of mine literally yesterday, and I was like, I've been building a vehicle for the new music industry for the past 10 years, and all we've been doing is testing the parts. So you've seen the engine run, you've seen, you know what I'm saying, the body of the car, you've seen, you know what I'm saying, what the lights are going to look like, you've seen what the doors look like, you know, you've seen what the stereo system inside the car looks like, but you've never seen the full car run. So take that into consideration when I essentially tell you this, like, everything that we've seen is research. Everything that you've seen thus far has been research. It's been us carrying out our research. Like, I specifically attempted to make NCEG as low key as possible over the course of the last 10 years as we were testing out different ways in order to teach this industry and to really form a new one. But the things that we have shown to the public have been, it's concerts, right? Like, you were a judge on, you know, essentially the pilot season of our Mogul series. Well, that series is basically designed to help offer artists an opportunity to tour on college campuses, because once one school builds a team and another school builds a team, well, those two teams have to compete now. So that means we're doing home games and away games. That means these students get to perform on that campus and their own campus, and vice versa, right? That is one aspect of it. But for years before, for dating all the way back to 2013, 14, and the latter, we were always doing panels. We were always doing like meetings with executives, inviting them in to come like talk to the students. But you know, we essentially understood after just a few years of doing that, y'all, like, everybody's doing this. How many times are you going to go to a panel and they're going to tell you, yo, look to your left, look to your right, make sure you get the phone number of the person. How many times are you going to go to an event and they tell you that before you actually go do it?
Yeah, that's true.
That's essentially, that, right. You know what I mean? Like, that's essentially what NCEG had to evolve into being, right? Like, so we spent those first 2 years understanding that, all right, everybody need to be networking, cool, but then after that, like, it's like, all right, now our members are forced to actually do it. They're forced to actually do it. They're forced to actually work with their peers. They're forced to actually like produce events and stuff like that on these campuses. Like a lot of the panels that you're even seeing now, the beautiful part about it is like I'm not planning those. Most of them happen without my knowledge at all.
Oh wow.
Because I'm not in the business of doing the work for them. I'm making executives, which means that if there's knowledge that they need and they need to acquire, here's the Rolodex of people who support this movement and that are industry professionals who can give you the knowledge right now. Call them and ask them to come to your school. Why would you not, right? Because again, as students, they're thinking, I don't have, you know what I'm saying, the authority or the ability to just reach out and ask these people to help me. It's like, bro, why not?
Yeah.
The worst they can say is no. But when they know that you're in this to learn, why would they say no?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So that's why it's, for me, the narrative of NCEG is something that we're writing now. The story about what NCEG is going to become is what it is that we're writing right now. It's about, and it's largely based upon how much Atlanta and this ecosystem like really showed us what the industry could become if we take advantage of these resources. But nah, like it's always gonna be about these young executives taking it upon themselves to open up doors for themselves. Right? So the panels are a part of that, but they're the ones hosting those shows, events, and competitions. Those artists that you see at those competitions, they're the ones doing artist development for those artists, not us.
We love that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so if those artists suck, who is that on? You know what I mean? Like, if they're great, who is that on?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so I'm happy to say, like, we have alumni already out of NCEG who, like, they're doing their thing in this industry right now as artists, as executives, because they're not afraid no more. They don't graduate and they're like, okay, well, now I get started. Like, nah, like, they've been doing this.
Yeah.
And that's how they move, and I love to see it.
Yeah. I had went to one of your award shows. Was that the first one ever?
Yeah, it was the first one. Again, like pilot. Like, so we were just testing the concept.
So I love it because I saw Jazzy the Rapper. Everybody loves Jazzy the Rapper. Surf. There was a couple other people, but I think I'm mainly on those two.
Yeah.
I'm like, I listen to their music and like I follow them and stuff like that. And it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
Like they could put on a show, and going back to like them being those alumni, are they correct?
Yeah.
So it's just like, wow, like I can't wait to see what you guys have coming up in the next 4 years.
Yeah.
You know?
Jazzy especially is one that I'm super proud of because so the NCEG process for how NCEG does their artists, every chapter, and when I say chapter, I'm referring to the students at that school. Every chapter has to go through an official audition process. That means there are things they got to check off in order for that audition to be considered legit. You not just getting your homeboy or homegirl in here as an artist because you rock with them. Like, that's not what we do. So that official audition process means that there's a lot of students who audition that like just they never make it, right? Like they like they can only pick the best of the best. Jazzy is one of those that we saw Jazzy as freshman Jazzy.
Oh wow.
And Jazzy did not pass auditions her first time.
Oh no way.
Yes. And Jazzy was having absolute none of it. She auditioned again. And not only did she apply everything that she learned from failing the first time, she was immediately promoted to be onto a show that another artist who had already passed got pulled off of because he wasn't essentially acting professional enough in order to be able to still have his spot.
Okay.
Right? So, I mean, because that's how it goes. You miss your opportunity, you off, we got to put another person in.
Facts.
Again, right? So, Jazzy is one of those artists who she came from essentially not being selected to applying that knowledge, being selected, and then growing over like a full like 4 years in the program. Because that's, I mean, from freshman all the way to senior.
Yeah.
Right? Like just working and grinding and building her team and knowing who she can trust and learning her style and going through a lot of things personally too, right? Like, you know, life. And now she's literally one of the shining stars of like our alumni who we, like very, very promising artists.
Yeah.
But again, it's the fact that she knows how to move in a way where she's not relying upon anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's why I'm just super, super proud of everything that she's doing now and everything that she's gonna do in the future.
No, facts. We love that. Going back to, so let's say I want to apply to be an NCEG. So there's things I have to check off. Go down the little process of that for the people that are becoming freshmen and want to apply for this.
Okay, so I mean, so it's honestly not incredibly complicated to let your interest in the organization be known. What matters is what you do essentially after you get in, right? So any student right now who may be listening to this, if you're listening to this, you can go to nceg.org right now and go to the the about section or sign up or whatever, and it's a simple little questionnaire application. It's going to ask you to fill out your information, name, email, what school you're going to, and then like your interests. And interests are broken down into essentially 5 categories. There's artists and performers, management, people who want to be in management, executives, A&Rs. Then there's like marketing and media people, that's like your aspiring journalists, photographers, videographers, all of those. Then there's your audio people who are like producers, engineers, sound technicians, those people. And then last but not least is going to be like your event curators and coordinators, right? Like, so those people who want to deal on the more hospitality side of things and that side of it. 5 categories. You're going to pick essentially the one that's most intriguing to you. And our organization really kind of uses that information as a track. When we'll put you on a track in order for you to kind of learn about the industry from that perspective. What's cool about it is it doesn't matter what major you are. It doesn't matter whether or not you're studying music or not. It doesn't matter if you're studying any of those things that are, that you're identified as your main focus. What does matter is that you're going to get paired with people a part of the other 4 things. Right.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then from there, we essentially have a series of challenges and assignments for you to complete. That literally just testing you. You're just being tested like the entire year. Now, these audition processes and the part where it gets maybe a little bit more like selective is if you decide that you want to be either a main artist in the organization, what we call a certified entertainer or CE, which is what Jazzy, I say is because we always recognize our CEs that graduated CEs, was what we call Jazzy, is what we call Surf. Like those artists, those are artists who became CEs. So you can study what it means to be an artist. That's all we'll find it cool. But it's a totally different thing for you to be chosen by your peers as like the top artist on your campus and have that be something that's certified by our organization. So now that process, that's an audition process. Okay. And you would sign up for that audition and go through that process. And then the other sides of it is about leadership. And that's really what NCEG is about. That's the part that a lot of people don't see because it's not, the flashy part, right? Like it's not the, being an artist and being out there on that stage is the part that everybody remembers and everybody wants to be, but nobody ever thinks about all of the people that have to actually put you in that position in the first place. Those are what all those other departments are about, right? So you have, your chapter leaders, those are your executives, president, vice president, treasurer, your money people, right? And then you have the department heads, which are, head of A&R, head of audio, your event coordinator, and then your head of media. Those leadership roles, those require actual interview processes. Like that's essentially what the way we like to put it, it's like having an internship to build out your own business. So it's like, if you see yourself as an aspiring like label exec, you want to own your own label one day, all right, become either a chapter president or a head of A&R for your chapter, and then let us take you through the ringer and showing you what that really looks like and feels like to have all of that mounting pressure on you to deliver or be replaced.
Yeah. No, honestly, that part.
Right. So, but yeah, like, oh, cool.
Yep.
But yeah, like, so that's what the program is really about. Like, we're not, you know, we're not, we're really about finding people and letting students explore what it's like to really be a part of this, to really be embedded in the culture and the demands associated with all of this, because what this is happening on college campuses because college campuses have an actual population of consumers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can be whoever it is that you say you want to be as an artist, right? Like, you can make music all you want. Is anybody listening? Is anybody coming to your shows? Because at the end of the day, music as an industry is a tool to sell product.
Yeah.
If you do not understand that, you are not ready to work in this business.
Or not meant for it. Just keep on going.
Exactly.
It's okay to have a 9-to-5 job. It's cool.
It's fine. You know what I'm saying? You can do that and you can continue to make your music. But, you know what I'm saying? As far as executives knowing what it means, or even artists who want to build brands that do business with, like, you know, major sponsors or, you know, even labels for that matter, right? Like, you need to know what it is that you're actually getting into and what it is that you're actually supposed to be delivering, because it's not just for you to make, you know, let me be careful. You make what you want to make. You make what resonates with you as an artist, right? But the business of artistry is all about finding the group of people that resonates with that and making sure that you're serving them with all of the other things that help them live the lives that they want to live, right? The art and the music is merely the facilitation of our community. It helps us know that we're kin, right? Like, you're a SZA fan? Shit, I'm a SZA fan.
Yeah, oh my God.
Right,
Yeah.
like, bro, you hear that? You know what I'm saying? This lyric, this line, like, that resonated with me, right? Like, we're kin, right?
Yeah.
And in being that, there's probably a whole bunch of other things that we have in common that we like. Certain styles of fashion, certain styles of music, maybe even certain type of food.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and once you understand that your art is designed from the industry standpoint to facilitate those connections, then you can begin to know what it really means to make a living off of your art. Prior to that, you're just making art.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that part.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, which is okay. It's A-okay.
Right.
But yes, I'm excited for what the future holds.
Yes.
And I can't wait to see you. I can't wait for, like, the whole car to be built. So we know, I'm like, dang, after all these years, after all these decades, this is what it is. And you have Surf and Jazzy being the new Kanye. I told, when I interviewed Surf, I was like, you give me Kanye vibes. Like, you're gonna be up there. Like, you're him. So I can't wait for them to be those, you know, those superstars that they already are right now.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. I can't wait to see all the executives you're grooming at this point. I'm like, damn, like, you have a lot. You have so many amazing panels, amazing people working your events, artists. You know, like, I met J Activist from your guys, you guys too.
The Kennesaw chapter, yes.
Yes, and then Nate Speaks. Look, she's the one. I love her. Ever since I saw her perform and judged her, I was like, girl, you're a superstar.
Yeah, she's
such a superstar. I love her. So I can't wait to see.
Man, when we really appreciate it. I mean, you know, one of the things, and I just want to be able to I guess close out, because I mean, I think we're it's for us, you know, every single thing that we're doing, or at least for me, I'll say every single thing that we're doing, the ultimate mission is to essentially create this pipeline, right? Like we clearly see the pipeline, right?
Yes.
Like there's all of this talent at this college level, and the college level is the perfect place for us to really build the fan base to support that talent.
Mm-hmm.
But much of the passion for music is actually being created at high schools.
Yeah.
For us, we do what we do now because our entire mission is to raise money and essentially redirect that money to high school seniors with a passion for music. That is why we say we're creating the NCAA of the music industry, because the only reason we're doing these shows, the only reason we're building these cars is so that we can sell these cars, sell this car, I guess, as a product that goes to create this scholarship fund that just lets us build better cars in the future. Yeah. And I think that that's the one thing where the industry to date has really kind of let us down. Like they know they're influencing all of these young minds in order to want to go down this path, but they haven't really given them a chartered course or safe pathway in order to be able to pursue it. And that's ultimately what NCEG is designed to do. It's like, hey, we're going to build out this system. We're going to make our superstars. We're going to make our execs, and we're going to make as much money as we can in the process of letting everyone bear witness to it. But what we're going to do with that money is make sure that we're pouring it back into the future generations so that our system just becomes bigger and better. Yeah. And that's what it's all about.
Yep, and the reason why everybody's moving to Atlanta is because of you. Yay, that! Woo! But no, I appreciate that. I really appreciate our conversations. I feel like we could talk for hours and hours and hours, which we kind of already have before the cameras and every single time we see each other. This is just a quick yes or no question. Is NCEG ever going to go out of Georgia?
Oh, 100%.
I can see that.
100%. I mean, again, it's the National Collegiate Entertainers Group. Atlanta is ground zero. Atlanta is home. It is important to us for us to start this here in Atlanta. Yeah. But Atlanta influences everything.
Look.
Right? So
facts.
As we perfect this model here, we're already getting calls from students in schools as far away as California in order to start NCEG chapters. So yeah, you can look forward to a future where our college students are catching flights to go compete against students over at UCLA or NYU. Nice. Bet on it. That's where we're going.
We love that. Dream big for sure. Thank you so much. So where can we follow you at? How can we get in contact? Where's the website? What can we do?
Absolutely. If you're interested in following me myself, you can follow me on really all platforms at SERPGNIK. That's King Prez spelled backwards.
Okay.
Yes, SERPGNIK. And if you're following NCEG, that's National CEG, also on all platforms.
Yep. And then every school has its own
yes, every school has its own chapter pages. Yeah. Most of those are going to be on Instagram, though.
Yep. All right. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for having me.
It was a pleasure. Always a pleasure. But yeah, guys, stay tuned. Like, comment, subscribe, and all the other good stuff. Bye.